The bell above the boutique door chimed, soft and elegant. Natalia Romano barely looked up from the dress she was adjusting, assuming it was just another customer. Then the air changed. Her body tensed before her mind even caught up. The atmosphere in the small Parisian shop grew electric, charged with something dark and familiar. A presence she hadn't felt in years. She slowly turned, the silk fabric slipping from her fingers. And there he was. Roman Devereux. The man she had secretly married. The man she had run from. Her pulse slammed against her ribs, her mouth suddenly dry. He looked exactly the same, tall, broad-shouldered, devastatingly handsome in a tailored black suit that probably cost more than this entire boutique. The sharp angles of his face were carved with power, his stormy blue eyes as unreadable as ever. But he wasn't just here to say hello. His gaze locked onto hers, sharp and unwavering. Then, without a word, he reached into his jacket, pulled out a sleek black folder, and tossed it onto the counter between them. It landed with a soft thud, the weight of it sending a chill down her spine. Natalia didn't move. She couldn't. Roman's voice was low, rich, and threaded with something lethal. "You're still my wife." The world tilted. For a moment, she just stood there, staring at him, at the folder with her name on it, at the past she had spent years trying to escape. No. It wasn't possible. She had filed for divorce. She had walked away. Her hand shook as she reached for the folder, flipping it open. There, in crisp black ink, were the divorce papers. And signed. Her vision blurred at the edges. Her stomach twisted. Her voice cracked, and she forced herself to meet his gaze. "You never signed them." A slow smirk curved his lips, but there was no humor in it. "I never intended to." Natalia's lungs clenched, her body ice-cold despite the warmth of the Parisian sun streaming through the windows. She shoved the folder back at him. "That was 3 years ago, Roman." He caught it before it could slide off the counter, tilting his head slightly. Studying her. Assessing her. 3 years. His voice was smooth, casual. Like he hadn't just detonated a bomb in her life. "And yet, you never remarried. Never changed your last name back." Almost as if, he leaned in, his breath brushing against her cheek, "You were waiting for me." A bolt of anger surged through her, hot and sharp. She stepped back, her jaw clenched. "I wasn't waiting for you. I was moving on." Roman's eyes darkened. "Is that what you call this?" He glanced around the boutique, his gaze lingering on the delicate lace gowns and expensive fabric rolls. "A new life? A quiet little shop in Paris?" Her hands fisted. "It's my life. And you're not a part of it." Silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words. Then Roman exhaled, slow and measured, and ran a hand through his dark, perfectly styled hair. "You're coming with me." Natalia's heart stuttered. "Excuse me?" "I came to take you back." He shut the folder, his fingers tapping against the leather cover. "We have unfinished business." Her throat went dry. "There's nothing unfinished between us, Roman. Our marriage was never over." His voice was quiet, but there was an edge to it, a finality that made her blood run cold. She forced out a laugh, but it sounded brittle even to her own ears. "You can't be serious. You can't just walk in here after 3 years and expect me to." "I can. And I do." Natalia took a shaky breath, her hands pressing into the counter, behind her, needing the stability. "Why now? Why after all this time?" Roman's expression didn't change. But his eyes, God, his eyes held something dangerous. "Because I let you go once." He took a step forward, closing the space between them, until his body heat wrapped around her, until she could feel the raw power rolling off him. "And I realized something." Her heart pounded so loudly she barely heard her own whisper. "What?" His voice dropped to a lethal murmur. "I don't let go of what's mine." A shiver ran down her spine. This was the Roman Devereux she remembered. Unyielding. Possessive. A man who never took no for an answer. And she had been foolish enough to think she had escaped him. Pack a bag, Natalia. His fingers traced the edge of the divorce papers, before sliding them back into his jacket. We're leaving tonight. She straightened, shaking her head. I'm not going anywhere with you. Roman sighed, almost amused, as if he had expected that answer. I was hoping you'd be reasonable about this. Then, before she could react, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone, swiping to a document. He turned the screen toward her. Her boutique's lease. Her breath caught. This place you built? Roman mused, tilting his head slightly. It's owned by a subsidiary of Devereux Enterprises. You never checked the fine print, did you? Her stomach plummeted. He leaned in, his voice low and smooth, but utterly merciless. I can shut it down in an hour. Or, he reached out, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear, his touch both possessive and infuriatingly gentle. You can come with me. And we can discuss how this marriage of ours is going to move forward. Natalia trembled, her mind racing. This was coercion. This was blackmail. This was Roman Devereux. She had one choice. And as she looked up into the face of the man who had once been her husband, her lover, her downfall, she realized she was never getting away from him. Natalia sat in the back of Roman's black town car, staring out at the city lights of Paris, heart pounding, hands clenched into fists on her lap. She shouldn't have gotten in the car. She should have fought harder. But the moment she saw the cold finality in Roman's gaze, the ruthless way he held up the lease to her boutique like a loaded gun, she knew she had no choice. She had lost to him again. Roman sat beside her, his presence commanding, inescapable. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. His fingers drummed against the leather armrest, casual, composed, like a man who had already won. It infuriated her. The car turned onto a private road, leading up to a penthouse building she recognized too well. Her stomach twisted. His Parisian home. The place where it all began. Natalia exhaled slowly, gripping the hem of her dress, willing herself to remain calm. She would go inside, listen to whatever bullshit he had planned, and then find a way out. She had to. The driver pulled up to the entrance. Roman got out first, then held the door open for her. She hesitated. Don't make me carry you, Natalia. His voice was smooth, but beneath it was an edge, a promise. The memory of the last time he had carried her into this building flashed in her mind. That night, 3 years ago. The night she had become his wife. Her breath caught. She stepped out. Inside the penthouse, the moment she stepped inside, the air felt thick with ghosts. The penthouse was exactly the same. Dark marble floors. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. A fireplace flickering with a low, golden glow. Nothing had changed. Except her. She had once walked into this space as Roman's wife, his lover, his obsession. Now? She was his captive. Roman strolled past her, tossing his jacket onto a chair before pouring himself a drink. The silence stretched. Natalia crossed her arms. Say whatever it is you brought me here to say, and then let me go. Roman took a slow sip of his whiskey, eyes flickering over her. Amused. Calculating. Dangerous. Then, finally, why did you leave? Natalia's breath hitched. A laugh bubbled up, sharp, bitter. You're seriously asking that? He tilted his head. Waiting. She swallowed, her nails digging into her palms. Because you suffocated me, Roman. You controlled every part of my life. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't be myself. So I ran. Roman's jaw tightened. He set the glass down with a soft clink. Then, before she could react, he moved. In an instant, he was in front of her. His fingers curled around her chin, tilting her face up, his blue eyes dark, searing. You ran, he murmured, voice low, possessive. But you never stopped being mine. A shudder rippled through her. No. This was how it always was with Roman. Overpowering. Consuming. Natalia tried to push him away, but his grip tightened, not painful, just unrelenting. Let me go, she whispered. Roman's thumb grazed over her jaw. I did once. I won't make that mistake again. The weight of his words settled over her, dark and inescapable. I'm not staying here. Roman exhaled through his nose, almost as if he were amused by her defiance. You think I brought you here to keep you prisoner? Didn't he? His fingers slid lower, tracing the side of her neck. Her pulse betrayed her, racing, erratic. He leaned in, lips just a breath away from her ear. You're free to leave whenever you want. Natalia stilled. A trick. It had to be a trick. She pulled back, meeting his gaze with cautious disbelief. You're serious. Roman smirked. I have no reason to keep a woman who doesn't want to be here. Her stomach twisted. So why did it feel like a trap? Why did it feel like he was daring her to walk away? She swallowed hard. Then I'm leaving. Roman stepped back, slipping his hands into his pockets. Silent. Watching. She turned toward the door. Her pulse hammered with each step. She reached for the handle. Her fingers curled around it. And then, she hesitated. Just for a second. And Roman saw it. She knew the moment it happened. A shift in the air. A slow, dark smirk curling on his lips. That's what I thought. Natalia's heart slammed against her ribs. No. No. He wasn't right. She just needed a second. Just a moment to. Roman took a step forward, his voice low, lethal. You don't want to go, Natalia. She swallowed. You don't know what I want. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch lingering. Don't I? Damn him. He always did this. Always knew how to unravel her, to make her doubt herself. She should walk out. She should. But the truth clawed at her, vicious and undeniable. Roman was still in her blood. In her bones. She still wanted him. And he knew it. The real reason she ran wasn't just because he controlled her. It was because she never stopped wanting him to. She stepped back, blinking hard. This isn't fair. Roman's smirk deepened. Nothing about us ever was. A breath shuddered out of her. She needed time to think. To stop feeling. To figure out if she was truly free, or if she had already lost. Natalia barely slept that night. She lay in the king-sized bed of one of Roman's guest rooms, staring at the ceiling as the weight of the past pressed down on her chest. She should have left. She should have grabbed her things and run while she had the chance. But she hadn't. Why? Because Roman had been right. She had hesitated. And that hesitation had cost her everything. The next morning, she forced herself out of bed, slipping into one of her silk blouses and fitted black slacks, clothes that made her feel in control. She wouldn't let him win. Not this time. But the moment she stepped out of the bedroom, she was hit with the scent of fresh espresso and something dangerously familiar, Roman. He stood by the penthouse window, already dressed in a dark suit, crisp white shirt unbuttoned just enough to hint at tanned skin and raw power. His eyes met hers, assessing, unreadable. Morning, he murmured, sipping his coffee. Natalia's spine straightened. I'm leaving today. Roman arched a brow. Are you? Her hands curled into fists. He was toying with her. She stormed past him into the kitchen, snatching a mug from the counter. I'm not playing this game with you. Sweetheart, you've been playing since the moment you walked into my life. She spun around, glare sharp. Stop calling me that. Roman smirked, unfazed. Why? Because it still does something to you? Natalia's breath caught. Damn him. She turned back to her coffee, willing herself to ignore the way her skin still burned from his gaze. The sound of footsteps. And then, heat. Roman's body brushed against her back, his voice a low murmur against her ear. You still take it black. Her fingers tightened around the mug. His hand skimmed down her waist, slow, deliberate. A shudder rolled through her. No. She twisted out of his grasp, stepping back. You don't get to touch me like that anymore. Roman exhaled through his nose, tilting his head as if considering something. Then, with infuriating ease, he leaned against the counter, arms crossing over his chest. That's funny. You didn't stop me last night. Natalia's pulse spiked. He was baiting her. Pushing her. She set her coffee down with a hard clank. What do you want, Roman? Why are you really doing this? His smirk disappeared. For the first time, something flickered in his gaze, something dark. Something real. You still don't get it, do you? His voice was quieter now, more dangerous. She swallowed hard. Get what? Roman placed his cup down. Then, before she could move, he was in front of her, his hands bracing against the counter on either side of her body, caging her in. The air snapped tight. His breath ghosted over her cheek. I never let you go. Her heart slammed against her ribs. You ran, he continued, voice low, slow, unraveling her one syllable at a time. But I never stopped watching. Never stopped knowing where you were, who you were with. A cold chill ran down her spine. That's obsession? Roman smirked. Maybe. Natalia felt trapped in his gaze, in the storm of possession and something far more dangerous. He leaned in, lips brushing against her temple, barely touching, yet consuming. You think I let you slip away so easily, Natalia? His hand lifted, tracing a slow, deliberate line down the side of her arm. You think I'd let another man have you? Her breath stuttered. Roman's eyes flickered to her lips. Say it. Her throat dried. Say what? That you still want me. His voice was rougher now, almost a growl. She swallowed hard. I don't. Roman's smirk returned. Lethal. Knowing. Liar. Then, he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It was a claim. A slow, deliberate reminder that she had never been free of him. Natalia's body betrayed her. She should have pushed him away, should have ended this before it even started. Instead, her fingers tangled in his shirt, pulling him closer. Roman groaned, deep and primal, as if he had been waiting for this moment just as much as she had. His hand slid to the back of her neck, deepening the kiss, tasting her, devouring her. And just like that, she was his again. The aftermath, the second Natalia broke away, she felt the full weight of what she had just done. Her lips were swollen, her breathing ragged. Roman? He looked completely unaffected. Like he knew this would happen. Her stomach twisted. This doesn't change anything. Roman tilted his head, studying her. Doesn't it? Natalia clenched her jaw. I'm leaving. Roman stepped back, giving her space, but not really. Go ahead, he murmured. Daring her. Testing her. Natalia turned toward the door, her heart pounding. She reached for the handle. And once again, she hesitated. Damn him. His chuckle was soft, dark. Victorious. You don't want to leave, Natalia, he said quietly. She hated that he was right. She hated that part of her still belonged to him. And worst of all? She hated that he knew it. Natalia sat at the edge of the massive penthouse bed, fingers gripping the silk sheets, her mind still tangled in last night's mistakes. She had kissed him back. Again. She had let him touch her, consume her, own her the way he always had. She should have run. Instead, she had let him win. Again. A knock sounded at the door, followed by his voice, deep, smooth, and infuriatingly calm. "Time to get up, sweetheart." Natalia inhaled sharply. She hated how much that damn pet name still affected her. "Go away, Roman." The door opened anyway. Of course, it did. Roman leaned against the doorframe, annoyingly relaxed, a fresh cup of coffee in his hand, his dark blue shirt unbuttoned just enough to hint at muscle and sin. Not an option. He strode inside, setting the coffee down on the nightstand. "Get dressed. We have plans." She frowned. "Plans?" He arched a brow. "You didn't think I brought you here just to reminisce, did you?" Natalia's pulse spiked. "I told you, Roman, I'm leaving." He exhaled through his nose, half amusement, half exasperation. "And yet, you're still here." She gritted her teeth. "Because you threatened my boutique." Roman took a slow step forward, watching her like a predator playing with its prey. "Then let's make a new deal." His voice was silk over steel. Natalia didn't trust that tone. "What kind of deal?" Roman sat on the edge of the bed beside her, his body close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. Close enough to remind her exactly what she had spent years trying to forget. "A marriage deal." She stiffened. "You can't be serious." He exhaled slowly, his gaze never leaving hers. "Oh, I'm very serious." Her stomach twisted. "Why?" Roman's expression hardened. "Because I need a wife." Natalia's mind reeled. "You already have one." A slow smirk curved his lips. "Then that makes this easier, doesn't it?" She pushed to her feet, heart pounding, panic clawing at her throat. "No. Whatever this is, I want no part of it." Roman remained seated, calm, dangerous in his stillness. "I'm not asking, Natalia." She let out a harsh laugh. "That's not how this works." He finally stood, moving toward her with deliberate, slow steps. "It's exactly how it works. You want your boutique? You want your freedom?" Her breath hitched. "That's blackmail." He shrugged. "That's business." Natalia clenched her fists. "What do you get out of this?" Roman's jaw ticked, his blue eyes darkening. "A deal is coming up. A merger I've been working on for years. The board wants stability, an image of a man who isn't reckless, who isn't a threat." She narrowed her eyes. "So you need a wife." Roman's smirk was slow, devastating. "And lucky me, I already have one." Natalia inhaled sharply, forcing herself to stay calm, to think rationally. "So you want me to play wife for a few months? Smile for the cameras? Kiss you in public?" Roman's gaze flickered to her lips. "You never had a problem with that before." Heat coiled low in her stomach, but she pushed it down. "Then what? Once the deal is done, you finally sign the divorce papers?" A muscle in his jaw flexed. "We'll see. We'll see." Her stomach dropped. He wasn't planning on letting her go. She shook her head. "No. I'm not doing this, Roman. I won't be some pawn in your game." Roman sighed, as if he had expected this answer, as if her resistance was merely a delay, not a denial. Then he reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and slid it toward her. She frowned. "What is this?" "Your lease." Her heart slammed against her ribs. "If you say no," he continued, voice smooth as glass, "I pull my funding. Your boutique disappears." Natalia's hand shook as she snatched the phone, scanning the document. It was real. The walls closed in. She had worked too damn hard to build that boutique, to create something that was hers. And now, he was dangling it over her like a noose. "You bastard," she whispered. Roman grinned. She wanted to hit him. She wanted to kiss him. And she hated that those urges felt so damn similar. She exhaled a shaky breath. How long? His smile widened. He had already known she'd break. 6 months. Her fingers curled around the edge of his phone. 6 months married to Roman again. 6 months of lies, of pretending. Of pretending she didn't still crave him. She swallowed. Fine. But on one condition. Roman's brow lifted. You think you're in a position to negotiate? She forced herself to stand taller, to meet his gaze without flinching. No sleeping together. Something dark flickered in his expression. Then, he laughed. A slow, deep, knowing sound. Natalia's skin heated. You're adorable, he murmured. She glared at him. I'm serious. Roman took another step closer, his fingers brushing the inside of her wrist, where her pulse betrayed her. So am I, he whispered. His lips hovered just inches from hers, his breath warm, intoxicating. You're mine for 6 months, Natalia. You wear my ring. You sleep in my house. His voice dropped, heavy with unspoken promises. And if you think I won't touch my wife, his thumb traced the delicate skin of her wrist, sending shivers down her spine. He leaned in, lips grazing her ear. Then you don't know me at all. A shudder rippled through her. She should have said no. She should have walked away. Instead, she held out her hand. Give me the damn ring. Roman smirked. And just like that, the deal was sealed. Natalia stood in front of the full-length mirror in Roman's penthouse bedroom, staring at her reflection as if the woman looking back wasn't her at all. A diamond ring sat on her finger, too heavy, too familiar. She had worn this ring once before. Now, it felt like a shackle. Behind her, the bedroom door opened. She felt him before she saw him. Roman's presence filled the space like a storm approaching, silent and inevitable. His voice was smooth, measured. You're thinking too much. Natalia exhaled sharply, meeting his gaze in the mirror. He stood behind her, hands in his pockets, eyes locked onto hers. What do you expect, Roman? She asked. This isn't real. A slow smirk. It is now. Her stomach tightened. She turned, crossing her arms. You really think this charade is going to fool everyone? Roman stepped closer. Too close. His cologne, dark, rich, devastating, wrapped around her, making it hard to breathe. Of course, he murmured. Because I don't play games I can't win. Her pulse hammered. He was too confident. Too sure of himself. And that terrified her. Because she wasn't sure of anything anymore. Their first public appearance, the event was at a private estate, an engagement party for one of Roman's business partners. Natalia should have been used to this world, the glittering chandeliers, the whispered gossip, the fake smiles behind champagne flutes. But now? She was the one they were whispering about. Eyes followed them as soon as they walked in. Roman was calm, composed, untouchable. Natalia? She felt like a fraud. She took a slow breath, her fingers twitching at her side. Then Roman did something unexpected. He reached for her hand. Laced his fingers through hers. A jolt of heat shot through her at the contact. Warm. Solid. Too intimate. She glanced up at him, startled. His expression didn't change, but his grip tightened. A message. A warning. Play your role. Or I'll make you. Her throat dried. She forced a smile as they moved through the crowd, pretending this was normal. Pretending he wasn't unraveling her one touch at a time. The kiss for the cameras. She should have known Roman wouldn't let the night end quietly. The whispers grew louder. Someone murmured, they don't look in love. Roman heard it. She knew he did. And then, his hand slipped around her waist. Natalia stiffened. His touch burned. She turned toward him, her voice low. Roman, then his mouth was on hers. Claiming. Devouring. The world faded. His fingers tightened on her waist, pulling her closer. It wasn't just for show. This was personal. Her body betrayed her, molding against him as if it remembered, as if it had been waiting for this. Heat quilled low in her stomach. She hated him. She hated him. And yet, she kissed him back. When he finally pulled away, his lips curved, victorious. Her breath came ragged, uneven. Damn him. Roman leaned in, his voice like silk against her ear. You play your role beautifully, wife. Her pulse skipped. And just like that, she knew she was losing. The drive back to the penthouse, the tension in the car was suffocating. Natalia refused to look at him. Her fingers twisted in her lap, her lips still tingling. She felt his eyes on her. Studying. Waiting. Finally, she snapped. That was unnecessary. Roman smirked. You mean the kiss? Her jaw clenched. It wasn't part of the deal. His fingers drummed lazily against his thigh. You're wrong. Making them believe this is real? That's the deal. Natalia turned toward him, anger bubbling to the surface. You didn't have to kiss me like that. Roman leaned closer, his voice low, controlled. Tell me you didn't want it. Her breath hitched. She should have said no. But the words wouldn't come. Roman's gaze dropped to her mouth. His voice turned to a whisper. Tell me, Natalia. She exhaled sharply, turning away. Go to hell. Roman chuckled. Dark. Amused. Possessive. Already there, sweetheart. Back at the penthouse, the moment the door shut behind them, Natalia spun around, fire in her eyes. You can't just do whatever you want, Roman. His smirk disappeared. Watch me. Her pulse raced. He moved. 1 second, there was space between them. The next, she was against the wall, caged by his body, his hands braced, beside her head. Natalia sucked in a breath. Too close. Too familiar. Roman's voice was low, dangerous. You think I don't know you, Natalia? Her chest rose and fell rapidly. You don't. His lips brushed against her ear. Liar. Her body betrayed her, shivering at his touch, remembering the nights he had whispered her name against her skin, the way he had ruined her. She squeezed her eyes shut. This isn't real. Roman's fingers tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his gaze. Then why are you shaking? Damn him. Damn him for always knowing exactly how to break her. She forced herself to push past him, her breath ragged. I'm going to bed. Roman didn't stop her. But just as she reached the door to her room, he called out, Sweet dreams, Mrs. Devereaux. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She closed the door behind her, pressing her forehead against it. This wasn't pretend anymore. This was war. And she wasn't sure she could win. Natalia had spent the past 48 hours trying to forget the way Roman had kissed her at the gala. She had failed. Miserably. The memory of it was a wildfire in her mind, burning away any rational thought. It wasn't just the kiss, it was the way his fingers had dug into her waist, the way he had owned the moment, the way he had owned her. She had spent the entire next day avoiding him, retreating into the guest wing of the penthouse, using work as an excuse. But now? Now, she was trapped. Because a storm had shut down the roads, the city was in lockdown, and there was nowhere left to hide. The storm that changes everything. Natalia sat curled up on the couch, her laptop open, attempting to focus on the reports she needed to review for her boutique's upcoming fashion line. But focus was impossible. Because Roman was right there. Sitting across from her in a low armchair, wearing a black sweater that hugged his body too well, his long fingers wrapped around a glass of whiskey. Watching her. The fire crackled in the massive fireplace, the only sound between them. The tension was unbearable. Finally, she set the laptop aside, exhaling sharply. Stop staring at me. Roman smirked, taking a slow sip of his drink. I thought married couples enjoyed spending time together. She rolled her eyes. We're not a real couple. He arched a brow. No? Her stomach tightened. No, she repeated. Roman leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. Then why do you look like you want me to kiss you again? Natalia's heart slammed into her ribs. She inhaled sharply, refusing to show weakness. You're delusional. He tilted his head, studying her like a puzzle he already knew how to solve. Am I? Before she could respond, a crack of thunder rattled the windows. The lights flickered, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room, save for the dim glow of the fire. Natalia stiffened. Perfect. She reached for her phone, but Roman was already moving. Already standing. And suddenly, he was right in front of her. Close. Too close. Her breath caught. What are you doing? Roman's voice was a low murmur, the kind that wrapped around her and made her stomach twist. Checking on my wife. Her pulse spiked. She forced a shaky laugh. You don't care about me, Roman. You care about appearances. Roman's jaw ticked. Then, before she could blink, his hand was in her hair, tilting her head back. His breath ghosted over her lips. Say that again, he whispered. Say it, and mean it this time. Her lungs seized. Because she couldn't. The lie was right there, waiting to be spoken. But she couldn't make herself say it. Because Roman wasn't just a game. He never had been. The moment she stops fighting, Natalia felt his body heat, the sheer presence of him. She could walk away. She should walk away. But he was already lowering his mouth to hers. And this time, she didn't stop him. The second their lips met, she was gone. Roman groaned into her mouth, deep, hungry, possessive. His hands gripped her waist, pulling her into his lap, straddling him. She gasped as his lips moved down her neck, his teeth grazing the sensitive skin there. Heat flooded her. She had forgotten what it felt like to be touched by him, owned by him. Roman's hands gripped her thighs, sliding up her body, pressing her closer, deeper. She was drowning. And she never wanted to come up for air. His mouth returned to hers, fierce and demanding. He kissed like a man who had been starving for her. And she kissed him like she had been starving for him too. The morning after, Natalia woke up to warmth. To a strong, muscular arm wrapped around her waist, a steady breath against the back of her neck. She blinked against the morning light. Roman. She was in his bed. She was in his arms. Reality crashed down on her like an avalanche. What have I done? She carefully shifted, trying to slip away. But the second she moved, Roman's grip tightened. His voice was rough with sleep. Don't. She stilled. Roman pressed a kiss to her bare shoulder, his lips dangerously soft. Natalia swallowed hard. Roman, stay. Her breath caught. It wasn't a command. It was a request. That terrified her more than anything. Because Roman never asked. He only took. Natalia turned to face him. His blue eyes were unguarded, vulnerable in a way she had never seen before. Her chest ached. She cupped his jaw, whispering, "This changes nothing." Roman's expression darkened. The walls snapped back up. Just like that, the moment was gone. Of course, he said smoothly. Just business, right? The coldness in his tone slashed through her. Natalia forced herself to nod. Yes. Just business. Roman smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. She turned away, slipping out of bed, gathering her clothes. She expected him to stop her. He didn't. And that was how she knew she had just made the biggest mistake of all. The silence in the penthouse was deafening. Natalia sat at the breakfast table, staring at the steaming cup of coffee Roman had set in front of her, black, just how she liked it. The simple act should have meant nothing. But after last night? After the way he touched her, the way he held her, it felt like everything. She lifted the cup to her lips, ignoring the way her hand trembled. Across from her, Roman was unreadable. Dressed in a crisp black suit, he sipped his own coffee like a man who hadn't spent the night unraveling her. Like a man who hadn't whispered stay. Like a man who wasn't watching her with razor-sharp intensity, as if waiting for her next move. She set the cup down carefully. We should talk about last night. Roman's lips twitched. Why? You already made it clear it meant nothing. A sharp sting stabbed at her chest. She inhaled slowly, forcing herself to keep her voice even. We need boundaries. Roman leaned back, stretching an arm over the back of his chair, looking entirely too amused. Funny. You didn't seem to mind the lack of boundaries last night. Natalia clenched her fists under the table. This was why she had left him. Roman was infuriating. Possessive. Overpowering. Unstoppable. And yet, a part of her still wanted him. That was the real problem. She pushed back her chair. I have a meeting this afternoon. I need to get ready. Roman tilted his head. Assessing. Waiting. Then, just as she reached the doorway, his voice followed her. Dinner. Tonight. She stopped. What? Roman stood, adjusting his cuffs. The image of power and control. I'll pick you up at 7. She turned, her pulse spiking. I never agreed to that. Roman smirked, stepping closer. You don't have to. Her breath caught. He was always like this, relentless, inescapable, pulling her deeper before she could find a way out. But she wasn't the same woman who had walked away 3 years ago. So she lifted her chin. Defiant. Unyielding. We'll see about that, she said. Then she walked out. A date she didn't agree to. She should have ignored him. Should have walked away and made it clear she wasn't playing this game. But at 6:55 p.m., she found herself standing in front of her closet, heart pounding, staring at her reflection in a midnight blue dress. Hating herself for caring. For still wanting to impress him. A knock sounded at the door. He was here. Natalia swallowed hard, smoothing her dress, before opening it. Roman stood in the doorway, his gaze sweeping over her slowly, thoroughly, like he was committing every inch of her to memory. Something dark and satisfied flickered in his blue eyes. You're stunning, he murmured. She ignored the way her heart stuttered. This doesn't mean I forgive you. Roman smirked. Of course not. He offered his arm. She hesitated, a battle raging inside her. Then, with a deep breath, she took it. And just like that, she was lost again. Dinner at the edge of the world. The restaurant was in a private rooftop garden, overlooking the Paris skyline. The candlelit atmosphere was intimate, too intimate. As if he had planned it that way. They ordered wine, their conversation light but filled with tension. Roman was being charming, which was dangerous. She knew this version of him. This was the Roman who had made her fall for him in the first place. The Roman who made her forget the danger beneath the surface. Halfway through dinner, he leaned forward, gaze locked on hers. Why did you leave? The question knocked the air from her lungs. Natalia set down her fork. You know why. Roman tilted his head, his expression unreadable. Tell me anyway. She exhaled slowly. You controlled everything, Roman. My schedule, my decisions, my life. I couldn't breathe. His jaw tightened. But that wasn't the real reason, was it? His voice was lower now, darker. Natalia's fingers curled into her lap. No, she admitted. Roman's gaze didn't waver. You were afraid. Her pulse spiked. Of what? His lips curved, but there was no amusement in it. Only truth. Of how much you wanted me. Natalia's breath hitched. Because he was right. She had left because Roman consumed her. Because loving him felt like drowning, and she hadn't known if she'd survive it. She didn't realize she had looked away until he reached across the table, tilting her chin up, forcing her to face him. "I never let you go, Natalia," he murmured. Her heart slammed against her ribs. Roman leaned in. His fingers brushed the inside of her wrist, tracing her pulse point. "I don't want to fight anymore." His voice was a whisper. A confession. Her breath caught. "Roman, come home," he said softly. "For real this time." The words shattered her. Because for 1 second, she wanted to say yes. But reality came crashing back. This was Roman Devereaux. He didn't love. He possessed. She pulled back, her hands trembling. "I can't," she whispered. Pain flashed across his face, so quick, so raw, she almost didn't catch it. Then it was gone. His mask snapped back into place. "Of course," he said smoothly, reaching for his drink. "It's just business, after all." The words felt like a slap. But she didn't correct him. Because if she did, she'd lose everything. Natalia should have known. She should have seen it coming. The moment she walked into Roman's penthouse, something felt off. The air was too still. Too charged. Roman stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, his silhouette bathed in the golden glow of the city lights. A king overlooking his empire. But his posture was tense. Controlled. Like a predator about to strike. Her stomach twisted. "What's wrong?" Roman turned slowly, his blue eyes colder than she had ever seen them. Then he tossed something onto the glass table between them. A folder. Natalia's breath caught. She recognized it instantly. Her boutique's financial records. A heavy silence stretched between them. Roman's voice was quiet, deadly. "Tell me, Natalia," he took a slow step forward, his gaze locked onto hers. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" Her pulse spiked. What is he talking about? She reached for the folder, flipping it open. And her world stopped. Inside were documents, transactions, money transferred into her boutique from an anonymous account. Except it wasn't anonymous. It was from Roman's company. Her stomach plummeted. This isn't mine," she whispered. "I never touched your money." Roman let out a sharp laugh. But there was no humor in it. "Don't lie to me, Natalia." Her throat tightened. "I'm not lying." Roman exhaled slowly, as if trying to hold back something darker. "Then explain this." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a USB drive. The moment he clicked a button, the penthouse filled with sound. A recording. A man's voice. She agreed to everything. The boutique is just leverage. She knew she'd have to play her part. Her blood turned to ice. She recognized that voice. Simon Greer. The businessman Roman was trying to outmaneuver in the corporate world. The man who had once offered her a deal, an investment in her boutique. A deal she had turned down. Her chest constricted. "I never agreed to anything," she whispered. "Roman, I swear, enough." His voice cut through her like a blade. She flinched. Roman closed the distance between them, his body tense, his anger barely contained beneath the surface. "You played me." Her heart cracked. "No. I would never, you used me." His jaw ticked. "Just like everyone else." Pain sliced through her chest. No. No, this wasn't happening. She shook her head. "I didn't take your money. I didn't betray you." Roman's gaze darkened. Unforgiving. "I trusted you, Natalia," he murmured. "And you made a fool out of me." Tears burned at the back of her throat. "Please," she whispered. "You have to believe me." His lips curled into a cold, cruel smirk. "Oh, I believe you." His voice was smooth, lethal. I believe that you played your part beautifully. Her breath hitched. Because she knew that look. She had seen it before. The moment before Roman destroyed someone. Roman, she pleaded, stepping closer. You know me. He stiffened. She reached for him. For the man who had once held her in the dark, whispered promises against her skin. But Roman? He stepped back. And that hurt more than anything. I thought I did, he murmured. Then, without another word, he turned and walked away. Leaving her standing there. Alone. She walks away for good. Natalia packed her bags with shaking hands. Tears blurred her vision, but she refused to let them fall. She had to get out. She had to leave before Roman destroyed her completely. By the time she reached the elevator, her heart was a broken, twisted mess. This was it. The end. She had lost him. And maybe she had never really had him in the first place. Roman watches her leave. He stood by the window, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He didn't move as he heard the front door open. Didn't turn as her footsteps echoed one last time. Didn't chase her as she walked out of his life. Because he couldn't. Because if he did, he wouldn't let her go. And Natalia Romano? She was the one thing he couldn't afford to keep. It had been a week since she left. 7 days. 168 hours since Roman Devereaux shattered her heart. Natalia tried to bury herself in work, tried to pretend she wasn't checking her phone every 5 minutes, waiting for a message that never came. But silence was all Roman had given her. And yet, he was everywhere. His name whispered in business meetings. His face on magazine covers. His touch still burned into her skin. She should have moved on. Instead, she was haunted. Then, everything changed. Because Roman Devereaux went on live television. The interview that stunned the world. Natalia was in her boutique, reviewing designs, when one of her employees gasped. Oh my God. Natalia, you need to see this. She barely looked up. What? Her assistant turned the screen of her phone toward her. And her heart stopped. Roman. Live. On national television. Sitting across from one of the most powerful business reporters in the world, his expression unreadable. The reporter's voice was sharp. Mr. Devereaux, rumors have been circulating about your personal life. Would you care to address them? Roman leaned forward, his gaze dark, determined. Yes. Let's talk about it. Natalia's pulse skyrocketed. Her employees huddled around, watching in stunned silence as Roman Devereaux did something he never did. He spoke about his personal life. He spoke about her. Roman's confession, the reporter smirked. People are saying your engagement was fake. Roman didn't even blink. They're wrong. Natalia's chest tightened. The reporter leaned in. So you're telling me you and Natalia Romano are still together? A heavy pause. Then, Roman's jaw clenched. No, her stomach dropped. He wasn't done. She left me. The entire newsroom went silent. Even the reporter looked stunned. Why? Roman exhaled slowly, running a hand down his jaw. Because I made her believe I didn't love her. Natalia forgot how to breathe. Roman's voice lowered, rough with emotion. But I do. Her entire world tilted. Roman Devereaux had just confessed his love to the world. And he wasn't finished. I made a mistake, he continued, blue eyes flashing with something raw and unguarded. I thought I could control everything. Even her. But you can't control the woman you love. Natalia's throat went tight. She didn't betray me. I was wrong. And now? His smirk was faint but devastating. I'm here to fix it. The reporter raised a brow. How? Roman leaned forward. And then, with the entire world watching, he spoke the words that shattered everything. Marry me, Natalia. Gasps erupted in the newsroom. The reporter gaped. I know you're watching, Roman continued, speaking directly into the camera. And I know you don't trust me. But I'll prove it to you. Natalia gripped the counter, dizzy. This wasn't real. This couldn't be real. But then Roman pulled something from his pocket. And her breath caught. Because it was her wedding ring. The one she had left behind. The one he had kept. Roman turned the ring between his fingers, gaze unwavering. I love you. His voice was low, certain, unshakable. And I don't care if it takes a day, a year, or a lifetime, I'm going to prove it to you. The screen went dark. Natalia's entire world shattered. The choice, the boutique was silent. Every employee stared at her. Then, the questions exploded. Are you going to say yes? Are you getting married on live TV? Natalia, what are you going to do? She didn't answer. Because she had no idea. Her heart was pounding, fighting a war against her mind. He had gone on national television. He had confessed everything. And he had left the choice in her hands. The woman he had once controlled, he was finally letting her choose. But did she trust him? Did she trust herself? Her phone buzzed in her hand. A single text message. From Roman. I meant every word. But if you don't believe me, meet me at our place. 1 hour. No cameras. Just us. Natalia stared at the words, her breath coming short. Her place. Their place. The rooftop garden where he had first told her he wanted forever. Her hands shook. She had a choice. Walk away. Or go to him. Her heart already knew the answer. Natalia stood at the entrance of the rooftop garden, her heart pounding so hard it hurt. It was quiet. Too quiet. The city stretched behind her, Paris glowing beneath the night sky, but all she could see was him. Roman stood at the edge of the terrace, facing away, hands braced on the marble railing. Waiting. She inhaled sharply, trying to steady herself. Trying to find the words. But then, as if sensing her, he turned. And her breath caught. Roman Devereux had always been intimidating, commanding, an unshakable force of nature. But right now? He looked almost uncertain. His blue eyes dark, searching, his jaw clenched tight as if he was preparing for the worst. He had been the one to summon her. Yet somehow, she held all the power. Her fingers trembled as she stepped forward. You really went on live television? Roman exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. Subtlety was never my strength. A laugh almost escaped her, but this wasn't funny. This was them, standing on the edge of something neither of them knew how to navigate. Natalia swallowed hard. Did you mean it? His gaze snapped to hers, sharp, intense. Every damn word. The certainty in his voice sent a shiver down her spine. She should have been angry. She should have fought back, reminded him that he had broken her before. But standing here, staring at him, all she could think about was the way he had looked into that camera, raw, unguarded, vulnerable. He had never given her a choice before. But tonight, he was giving her everything. She took another step closer. I don't know if I can trust you. Roman's jaw tightened. Then let me prove it. Her breath caught. How? His throat bobbed as he reached into his pocket. And then, he pulled out her wedding ring. The one she had abandoned. The one he had never let go of. Her heart stuttered. I've carried this every day since you left, Roman admitted, voice low, rough. Because deep down, I always knew, he exhaled sharply. You were the only thing I ever wanted that I couldn't control. Natalia's chest tightened. She opened her mouth to speak, but he wasn't done. I was wrong before, Roman continued. About everything. About us. He stepped closer, towering over her, but not trapping her. Not this time. You weren't the one who was afraid, Natalia. Her breath hitched. It was me. The confession shook her to her core. Roman Devereaux? Afraid? Of what? His gaze softened, but his voice was still unwavering. I was afraid of how much I needed you. The words cut straight through her. Because this wasn't the man she had walked away from. This was someone different. Someone willing to let her choose. Roman inhaled deeply, then dropped to one knee. Natalia's pulse skyrocketed. No. Not like this. Not again. Roman, marry me, he said, voice low, steady. Not because of a contract. Not because of a deal. But because you still love me. Because you know, deep down, you were never meant to be anywhere else but with me. Tears burned her eyes. Her hands shook. This was everything she had ever wanted. But the fear still lingered. What if you hurt me again, she whispered. Roman's expression darkened. Then I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. A single tear slipped down her cheek. And Roman? He caught it with his thumb. Her entire body shivered. She should say no. She should make him wait. But the truth was, she had never stopped loving him. And she never would. So she took a deep breath, exhaled, and whispered, yes. Roman froze. As if he hadn't expected her to actually say it. Then his entire body moved at once. In a flash, he was on his feet, pulling her against him, his mouth crashing down on hers. The kiss was pure fire. Desperate. Consuming. Everything they had fought against for so long. His hands tangled in her hair, his grip almost trembling. Natalia melted into him, her fingers gripping his suit jacket, pulling him closer. Roman growled against her lips, lifting her off the ground. You're mine now, he murmured, breathless. No more running, Natalia. She kissed him harder, deeper. And this time, she knew she wasn't running. She was home. The end.
Thank you so much for watching. All my stories are written by me, and I hope you enjoy them. I upload new videos daily, so I hope you'll hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'd also love to hear what you think about this story in the comments, and feel free to tell me what kinds of stories you'd like me to bring to the channel in the future.